Holla at your boy.
Yeah, let's get to
This is the fat man himself, Jimbo Stevens, and next to me is my co-host, Skinny Bitch.
Yeah, that's my name. Skinny
Bitch
Stevens.
Skinny Bitch. No,
I got a tramp stamp of that.
It says Skinny Bitch on it.
Skinny Bitch Stevens.
Skinny Bitch, and there's a dolphin jumping over it. That's so good.
And the dolphin has a unicorn horn too.
It's just sticking out from. It's fantastic.
And a machine gun.
And a machine gun. Yeah. It says a lot about who he is on the inside.
Yeah.
There's his soul.
On the inside, I'm a dolphin.
just like that episode
Unicorn
of South Park.
dolphin.
What was that? Trans-species?
Oh yeah, trans-species.
Jesus Christ.
Man.
No, this is the whole effing podcast. Ray Van Dam.
Ray Van Dam.
And we're going to talk about the top 10 running backs in all of fantasy sports, whether it's Dynasty, PPR, Standard Leagues, no matter what it is. This is an overview. We're going to be going in descending order. We're going to start from number 1 because everybody knows who number 1 is.
Everybody loves the D. That's
Everybody loves the D. Even dudes. Nowadays. It's progressive. It's progressive these days. But we're going to go in descending order. Start at number 1 because everybody knows who number 1 is, obviously. It should be a no-brainer. And then we're going to work our way to number 10 because number 10 always fluctuates no matter who you are, no matter who you like, no matter who you prefer. And this is our take on the top 10.
We'll kind of shoot this in almost like a standard, format of scoring. And we'll throw in a couple of notes, obviously, hey, running back.
This guy,
running back 7 would be a little bit higher in a PPR league or something like that.
Because he's in a more, he's got a quarterback that likes to check down a lot or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, but for the most part, like in my top 10, everyone in there is still the same, regardless of PPR. The position will be swapped a little bit with these guys. All these guys are staying in the top 10.
Yeah, but it's like maybe 1 or 2 positions up or down, whichever, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
But for us, and basically for everybody, it should be Ezekiel Elliott number 1.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's who I got as number 1. I think, of course, the offensive line is an A+.
The best in the league.
The offense in general.
Well, the Cowboys' offensive line should be the best in the NFL because for 5 straight years they've drafted offensive linemen.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people didn't.
They didn't believe in that.
People didn't like that. People were kind of.
I remember that
because they're not.
They got tired of it.
They're not the sexy picks or whatever. But it's just like
the sexy
bam,
pick, baby.
Let's get a center. Let's get a left tackle. Let's.
Yeah, it wasn't like the hyped up corner or the top receiver in the league. But if you're on your 2012 or 2013 draft and you have the top receiver in the draft going as like the only receiver in the first round being Tavon Austin, I think you're pretty safe choosing a lineman.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
Even if it is your 3rd year picking a lineman.
And I think now people, there's always worry with the sophomore slump, but
I worry about it, dude.
I think sometimes that can be a product of the team also.
Kind
like
of
Todd Gurley. He definitely had the sophomore slump last year.
It hit him pretty hard.
But the team performed pretty bad as a whole.
They were not good.
He really did not have any holes to run through, Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus rookie quarterback back there who didn't come out the gates hot. Like people are going to load the box and wait for that rookie quarterback to try and start beating them, and it didn't happen. And I think
just continue to apply the pressure on him.
Yeah. Everybody knew Todd Gurley. You got to stop Gurley, and we'll see what the rookie quarterback can do if he can beat us or not. And that never really happened. So the team just continued to focus on shutting down the run game.
Yep.
So in that scenario, I think that's why Gurley slumped a little bit. But I don't see that happening with Zeke at all this year.
No.
Even if Dak Prescott regresses, he has the sophomore slump, they'll just lean more on Zeke Elliott this year. Which
they should have done last year. I've said it up and down during the Green Bay game that they should have just gave the ball 50 times to Zeke Elliott because he was he was running fucking nuts on the Packers. Like, they just could not stop him. and he like his yards per carry average was like 7-8 yards or something like that. 6 yards was it?
What, that game?
That game.
Oh.
It was a lot because I remember there was like blurring holes. They couldn't stop him. He was just running all over them. And for some reason, like late in the game, actually throughout the entire game, they just did not give him the ball. At least I thought enough. And they just tried to force this shootout situation between their highlighted rookie quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. And I'll tell you this. If that's your game plan, you're going to lose 100% of the time because unless you are the absolute best quarterback, among the best quarterbacks in the league, like Matt Ryan or Tom Brady or even Ben Roethlisberger, you're not going to shoot out Aaron Rodgers. It's just not going to happen. I don't care who you are.
Play that game
I don't care how
day.
you argue it. He will fuck you up. He will fuck your life up, and he will do it in the worst possible way. Yeah. So they should have stuck to the run game.
Yeah,
dude, Ezekiel should have had like 500 yards rushing that game. He should have won it for me, and they would have been. They probably would have went to the Super Bowl if that would have happened, because I know that they would have tore apart Atlanta, because Atlanta's defense, we all know, like falters in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, yeah, we saw that on the grandest stage of all. So, but like I said, this is our standard format right now.
Mm-hmm.
If PPR, he could drop down to
other guys,
2 or 3 maybe. You could see Le'Veon or David Johnson at 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't put it past Zeke to get more opportunities to catch the ball this year.
They'll probably give him more carries.
I think he could get more carries, and I think he could also have some more opportunities to catch the ball out of the backfield. Not a whole lot of rookies seem to get like a whole lot of catches their first year out of the running back position, at least just based off the top of my head. But I think he'll end up getting more opportunities to catch the ball, so I think he could surpass last year's number of catches.
Yeah.
Which is why I would still leave him in at number 1.
Yeah, because even if Dak Prescott slumps a little bit, he'll probably rely on Zeke for the check down a lot of the times, which is probably what Garrett will probably tell him to do. He's like, hey, look, you got this option down here. Dude, just give it to Zeke when you need to.
Yeah.
I can kind of see if that ends up happening, that Zeke will probably end up being like LaDainian, and he'll probably end up getting like more catches, upwards of like 70, maybe 80 catches for the year.
Wow, that'd be a lot. That'd be a PPR monster if you can get that many.
Yeah, dude, that'd be it for me.
Yeah.
Come in my pants.
So number two, we had the same running back.
It's Le'Veon.
It was Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon.
Yeah, that guy's a monster. PPR and standard format. So.
And the thing about him is that, to me, he's a much more smoother runner than Zeke, and he doesn't have. He makes it look effortless to me.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes Zeke a little bit better is like just how the offensive line is just set up for him.
Yeah.
And not to say that the Steelers aren't, because Steelers are probably like you can probably swap the Steelers offensive line with the Cowboys offensive line at like 1 and 2 is the best. But if it's not Zeke, it's Le'Veon, and vice versa. But like for me, Le'Veon just runs a lot more smoother. He has more patience in the backfield to allow things to happen.
Yeah, he was one of the top running backs last year in fantasy, and he missed like 4 games or 3 games, or I think 3.
3 games.
I forget how many. Games.
2 games. He missed 2 games.
2?
2 games. But even then, the year before, he missed 4 games, and he's still the top running back.
That's probably
a lot.
That's the only knock you would put on him, is you always run that slim chance that maybe he gets in trouble.
Yeah.
And then your season's screwed since he's been in trouble a couple of times already.
Yeah.
But the guy kills it, though. Yeah. Absolutely kills it. And their offense is so potent.
I call him the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah.
He's the Heartbreak Kid. So. He'll fucking stick a dagger in your...
A defense pretty much has to play the Steelers just straight up. You can't really focus on
one guy.
Yeah. Their receiving weapons are ridiculous now. They're getting Martavis Bryant back. They got
Marquise Wheaton.
Yeah, they got Wheaton left.
Did he leave?
Yeah, I think he went to the Bears. But they got Juju Smith.
They got Juju. The hype. They got Hype Train.
Who do they? Dang it!
I say the hype train is real.
They drafted. They got another receiver too late in the draft. I can't remember who.
I don't remember his name. He'll probably like shoot up the list though. I have a feeling.
But their offense is just potent. There's you cannot really focus on one end on them.
Yeah, they're a killer in any position, pretty much.
So, and then, even on obvious passing downs, like, they could still throw it to Le'Veon Bell, and he can...
Yeah,
so
he still
it's not like Le'Veon Bell is in there first, second, third down, that's what you want out of one of your top running backs in fantasy.
Yeah.
So we both agreed on that. Other people probably put him at number one. That's fine.
That's
I
cool.
don't have a problem with that either.
I don't have a problem
Especially in a
with it.
PPR league, because he's going to get those catches. Zeke, I project that he can get those types of catches.
It's just that we don't know if he is. There's no real measure of consistency, so it's more like a guess than anything else. And if you want to make the educated guess, then by all means go ahead. I mean, I just said it a few minutes ago that he would, so that's my educated guess. So you're not wrong in thinking that. I mean, at that point it's all a toss up. It's a coin flip.
Then at number 3,
Trey.
we both had the same guy, David Johnson.
David Johnson.
That guy, I think if there's any back in the league right now that probably, if I had to put money down on it today, like who has the potential to have 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, I would bet on David Johnson. So in a PPR league,
I would put him at number 1.
Yeah, you could probably easily put him at number 1.
Yeah.
He did have the knee injury to end the season last year. It looked terrible. If you've seen it, it looked like it was going to be a significant level injury.
Yeah, my world crumbled because I have been Dynasty. Everybody knows that story.
Yeah,
and my world fucking crumbled. Because it was unnecessary, and I still say it to this day. Absolutely unfucking necessary. The Cardinals were out of playoff contention. There was no reason to start your starters. My brother always says this. He's like, oh, they should be starting their starters all day, every day, even in week 17. No, you should not, because that's the reason why. Because you hurt your star player. Why in the fuck would you do that? You might as well just take your star player back into the back of the woodshed, shoot the motherfucker in the knee. Because it's stupid. It's dumb. It is
a very physical game.
It's dumb. It makes absolutely no sense. Just rest him until the next season. It's not like he's going to lose a step just because he sat out one game.
Yeah,
it makes absolutely no sense.
It happens in the NBA all the time at the end of the year.
Stupid.
Even the teams that are out of the playoffs. Some people will call it tanking.
Yeah,
but I think everybody knows Week 17 is kind of like
it only matters to those teams that are going to either make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, or they have a chance to win their division or lose their division.
Yep.
That's the only time it fucking matters.
When you think about it, like some people are like, well, it's not true to the game. They should play, and like maybe they should play a little bit, but almost like a preseason type thing. Yeah. I would think Week 17 is like you got to protect your investment. If you got this top level quarterback out there, do you really want him out there in a meaningless game like Week 17? Like,
can you imagine the outrage? Can you imagine the fucking outrage? Okay, this is a perfect example. Let's say the Raiders have the division locked up, right? Last year, Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, right? Division's locked up. There's no need to put any more effort because everything from that point is a 1-foot putt, right? Going into the playoffs, you guys have first round bye, right? Mm-hmm. But for some reason, Jack Del Rio decides to start Derek Carr all 4 quarters, and in the last 2 minutes of the game, breaks his fucking leg just like he did 2 weeks earlier.
I would not like that at all.
How many motherfuckers would be pissed off at that shit?
They would call him for his head.
Exactly. That's my point. And that's my point, is that if you treat it like that during that moment of any NFL season, you should treat it like that consistently across the board. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever whether you're a winning team or a completely losing team. The only time that you should be starting your starters is when you're competitive. When you're competitive. If you're out of the race,
when there's something to gain, too.
It's Week 17, you're just fighting for draft pick at that point. And at that point, you can trade up. Fuck that. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason to start your starter, whether it be David Johnson or an Adrian Peterson or a Derek Carr,
Yeah,
or Peyton Manning.
A loss might move you a few spots up the draft.
Yeah,
you know?
and you
So
have a better
can-
opportunity. And
Yeah.
even then, you might get a first-round draft pick like the Bills did. You know, I was upset that they lost their last 3 games in a row, but I mean, they ended up getting an extra first-round draft pick in 2018. I'm not mad about that. There's no reason you should be upset about that. Fuck your purity of the game at that point. Your purity of the game is fucking stupid.
It's a business.
It's dumb.
The NFL's made that loud and clear.
just-
This is a business.
Just get that out of your
So-
mindset right now, because you're. If anything, if you say that, if anyone catches you saying that, you should never be a fucking football fan ever. Just hang it up. Go watch golf or something. Go watch the NBA. How about that? We don't need you in the NFL. Go watch the NBA. Go watch LeBron.
And since
Fuck outta here.
since this is a business, if you had money in a stock, and you know your broker or whatever was like, "Hey, nothing's gonna happen with this company. They're at a standstill or something." You cannot possibly gain any money by leaving your money, you know, your $1,000 in this stock for the next, 3 or 4 months. It'll gain zero value. If anything, the only thing that could possibly happen is you could lose all of that value, or you could lose 30% of that value. You might actually gain a little bit if you pull it out now. You'd be like, oh, well, okay, I should pull it out then. That's, this is a business. It should be looked at that way. Why would you leave this investment, your
Why would you leave it in
quarterback
there?
or whatever, in there when all that can happen is it can lose value?
And then what happens? You leave your money in, you lose money, and then now you don't have money for your kids' braces. You don't have money for your kids to eat. That's your fault, Dad. You're a fucking bad dad.
Your drug habit, all that stuff.
Get the fuck out of here.
But anyway,
Make smart decisions. Stupid. It's dumb.
So,
I don't talk about this no more.
Yeah.
It's making me
David
depressed.
Johnson,
I'm triggered
number
now.
3. David
I'm
Johnson,
triggered.
number 3.
Fucking triggered. What's number 4?
Lock that down. He, like I said, though, he could be higher. The knee injury. I think it looks like he's gonna have a full recovery, though. They said. I think it ended up not being as bad as it looked.
Yeah, they called it like a grade 2 sprain. I think it was an MCL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it's not too bad. He's got 9 months to recoup, and he's probably all good now. He's probably able to make cuts on it and everything like that.
yeah.
You had a grade 2 MCL sprain. You're not an NFL.
Mine was
athlete.
only grade 1, but yeah, it still hurt.
So it was a little boo boo.
But
Did you get the Star Wars Band-Aid on you?
No, I did get a little brace though.
Oh, you got a little brace.
Yeah.
Was it a Dora Explorer brace?
It had a bottle opener on it.
Did it? Did it say we did it? Swiper gonna swipe. Number 4.
Number 4.
My number 4 is LaShawn McCoy. Only because I'm a Bills fan, I like LaShawn McCoy. I absolutely love LaShawn McCoy. But your number 4 is completely different, and this is where it starts to switch.
Mine was Devontae Freeman.
I don't know, and I don't disagree with that. I like that too.
But I have McCoy at 5. Another one of those things. 2 guys that are maybe a little interchangeable.
Yeah.
That's something that you can end up changing your mind on the week of the draft, or even the day of when you're under the gun. You're like, oh man,
Who should I get?
Yeah.
And even then, like, let's say you're picking 9, or no, let's say you're picking like 7, and the guy before you picks Devontae Freeman, and you really wanted Devontae Freeman, then you pick LaShawn
I'll
McCoy.
take McCoy. That's no problem.
It's no brainer,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
I'm not losing sleep.
Yeah,
So,
it ends up making the decision for you.
yeah.
That's our point.
So Freeman, in my opinion, I don't see, even though he is splitting carries,
It didn't hurt him at all.
Yeah, he still put up great numbers.
Yeah.
And that offense
It's prime
is
for it,
also
dude.
really good.
Super duper prime.
They throw the ball a lot with Matt Ryan, and Freeman is the receiving back. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, like I said, him and Tevin Coleman are splitting carries, but Freeman he gets a lot of catches too. So PPR, he's up there as well. Your guy, Shady McCoy,
I like
just rips it up no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what offense he's on, whether it's the Eagles or the Bills.
No matter who the quarterback is, it's just...
I've seen him so many times just create a hole out of nothing. Like the hole will collapse, and you think that, he's going to be like -2, -3 yards. And then for like absolutely no apparent reason, he just kind of bursts through it, and he finds a way to slip in, and the other team doesn't notice. It's like... you know what? I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that. We're going to move on.
Wait, tell me how you really feel. That's all right. It's all right. I'll just take Devontae Freeman. So, who did you have at number 5?
I had Devontae Freeman.
Okay,
at 5.
so that covered our 4 and 5. Just in reverse,
perfect example.
opposite order.
Yeah, perfect example.
My number 6 was Jordan Howard.
I had DeMarco Murray at number 6.
DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
So Jordan Howard, he had a pretty good year for a rookie running back.
Yeah.
I think he was number 2 in rushing yards or something like that. He was up there.
He was another guy I drafted in Dynasty, the second round.
Yeah, that was a good pick. He was
even with Jeremy Langdon, like it seemed like he was going to be the guy taking over.
Dang, I forgot about
that. And like for some reason, like Jordan Howard just
Jeremy
Langdon just wasn't getting it done, and I saw Jordan Howard out there, and I remember watching him in college, and I was like, well, he's got what I like in a running back, so I might as well take the opportunity because Matt Forte just left.
Yeah.
And
so there's touches there.
there were things that were in flux, and I thought to myself, well, Jeremy Langdon's gone. I'll go ahead and go with Jordan Howard, roll the dice, and see how it turns out. And it just ended up being one of those things where it turned out pretty good, and I liked it.
Yeah, with Howard, I think he only had like 7 touchdowns last year, but I think those numbers have the potential to go up.
Yeah, they'll go up.
It's now I know their team is going to be bad. Their team's going to be real bad this year. They got a rookie quarterback. There's a chance he might not even start. Trubisky. They could start. What's his face from the Bucks, who they acquired.
Mike Glennon.
Yeah, Glennon.
Yeah.
Glennon. They gave him a big contract.
Yeah.
But I could see some people thinking, oh well, why do you think that he would do great when their team is going to be real shitty? They're probably going to have to throw the ball a lot because they'll be behind in a lot of games. But remember this: the team was shitty last year.
Yeah.
The team wasn't any good last year.
Who was their quarterback last year?
Yeah, Cutler. Their team was bad last year,
and that was for part of the season.
And he did well. He did real well. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. And that's not a good.
Brian
team.
Hoyer took over like in the month of December, and it seemed like it didn't even matter.
Yeah, so I think he'll be able to. At minimum, he could probably be able to reproduce the numbers that he had this previous year.
Yeah.
But definitely has the potential to get more touchdowns. The one thing that might hurt, I think one of the games, I think it was against the Niners, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So, like, if you scrap that game,
so like,
damn,
45% of his touchdowns came from the Niners
from one game. So
that's
you
good.
You definitely want to
That's
see.
fantastic.
You definitely want to see more opportunities to get in the end zone.
Yeah,
and
he should. He'll get there.
I think it'll happen.
He'll be okay. I had him at number 8.
Yeah. So number 7.
Yeah, who'd you have at number 7?
I got Jay Ajayi.
I had Jay Ajayi at number 7 too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's perfect.
I absolutely loved him last year. I mean, there were games where he had absolutely nothing, but I mean, you can't really fault that on him.
Yeah.
That was just oh my god, dude.
I think some of it was coaching. Remember in the beginning of the season, he wasn't even getting the ball.
You know what? You know how like they have certain times where they switch quarterbacks, like the Matt Leinart, Kurt Warner situation in Arizona back in 2007.
Oh yeah.
Where they switched quarterbacks every week, and Matt Leinart got fucking pissed off about that, and the coach was like, "Well, fuck you, you're gone. Kurt Warner's our starter from now on." I have a feeling that the Miami Dolphins did the exact same thing last year, but with their offensive coordinator, and they switched offensive coordinators last year because it just seemed like they just went completely. They were like 180 every other week. It seemed like they were run heavy one week, pass heavy the next week. They loved Jarvis Landry. They hated Jarvis Landry. Like the first the entire month of December, Jarvis Landry was fucking on fire. He was hot. I loved him, especially 2 years prior. When he came out as a rookie, he was a sensation. I'm going to say a sensation. I'm not going to say great, a sensation, because he was appealing, sexy black man. And last year, they totally fucked him.
Yeah.
Whoever the offensive coordinator was, whoever was switching duties at the time because nobody wanted to take on full responsibility, just totally fucked the shit out of Jarvis Landry. And for like the entire month of October, the entire month of November, you did not see anything from him.
Yeah.
He had like negative one catch. I don't know how that's possible. He probably caught a ball out of bounds. Stat correction.
Yeah.
But like, and then in the month of December during championship weeks, he was on fire again.
Yeah.
It just fucking blew my mind. I got pissed about it. But I love Jai for coming through in clutch situations.
He had 3 games last year with 200
yards.
3 of them.
You
it's
can't deny that.
Dude, how did they not give him the ball early on in the season? So
or more often.
Yeah, you look at his final numbers, like, oh, yeah, those are pretty good numbers. But keep in mind, at the beginning of the year,
like over 1,000 yards.
He wasn't. Yeah, he had 1,000 yards. At the beginning of the year, he wasn't even like the featured back.
Nobody even knew who he was.
He was
he just emerged.
They just weren't giving him the ball.
He emerged.
I remember
a rising dick.
There were a lot of fantasy owners that cut him early on. Cut him early on. So a lot of people that had Jay Ajayi on their team, they didn't even draft him. A lot of people, they picked him up, in the waiver wire, like week 4, week 5, or whatever.
It's an Antonio Brown situation.
And then he had those 2 straight 200-yard games.
Yeah.
And everyone that cut him was pissed off.
Yep.
Or everyone that had the opportunity to pick him up and just looked at him and was like, nah. Like, they felt dumb, for not picking him up. I did that. Look, I drafted him at a draft. Somebody else had already drafted him. I totally missed the pick. I drafted it, and I ended up having to shotgun a beer because that's our penalty.
That's the penalty.
That's the penalty. You pick someone that's already been picked, you shotgun a beer.
Yep.
So I had to do that for a player that I didn't even get to have, and then he ended up getting cut like a few weeks later or something, and I didn't even bother to pick him up because I was like, damn, they're not even giving him the ball, so I'd just be waiting on an injury or something. So
yeah, that's that situation that kind of stings a lot.
So look for him to produce more yardage and touchdowns next year.
Expected to be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah,
a little bit more consistent. Yeah, I had him at number 7 also.
So
and then number 8, I had Jordan Howard at number 8.
Okay, number 8, I had DeMarco Murray.
Murray, that's my number 6.
Yeah, so our 6 and 8 are
just switched.
Yeah. So
and that's I see it going like that. Depending on who you are, if you like the dude. I had mentioned this earlier to Ray, and that any guy who ends up being released or traded to 2 or 3 different teams just ends up disappearing. He doesn't do as well. Like Mike Wallace or he's on the Ravens now, and you really don't hear much from him other than kind of stealing some catches away. But for the most part, any running back or any receiver, it happened to T.O., it happened to Chad Johnson, anytime they go onto a third team, they end up not being as successful as they were on the second team. Yeah. But DeMarco Murray looks like the exception to the rule, kind of like T.O. was, where you can kind of take...
You can kind of like that Dallas
take
Philly
a stab at him.
Though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you can kind of take that stab at him. For me, the only reason I have DeMarco Murray a little bit higher is because the team has no weapons. He's the only guy, and his talent shines through because he's a little bit more proven. He's a little bit more consistent. He's proven his success through his talent, and it showed last year because he had like over 50 catches last year.
Yeah, he was back to being the Dallas Cowboy, DeMarco Murray, not the Eagle one where they just kind of wouldn't give him the ball or whatever.
Just didn't know who he was.
He did. Everybody thought him and Derrick Henry were going to split that ball 50-50. I thought so too. Then it didn't really happen. With the comment you said about weapons, I think they've done the right thing and addressed that they need to give Mariota more weapons.
Yeah.
They signed Eric Decker to a 1-year deal. We'll see what that does for them. I think that'll be an upgrade and it'll help them out.
I don't think it'd be an upgrade at all because fuck Eric Decker. I hate that motherfucker so much. Only because he fucking stung me. No matter it didn't matter if I drafted Eric Decker or if I was going up against Eric Decker.
Because you couldn't decide if you wanted to go on IR or not. Is that what?
Fuck that guy. I hate that guy so much with a fucking passion.
But also they drafted Corey Davis too in the first round.
Yeah, I like that.
That
was a good pick.
We'll see what Mariota and that offense can do now that he has
some more weapons,
some more people to throw to.
Yeah, and he'll be able to use DeMarco and check down roll.
Yeah, I think that'll be better also. And then
in PPR leagues, I'd probably put him. I'd probably have I'd probably have him in the same spot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't switch him with anybody in the top 5.
The only thing I'm worried about with that is Derrick Henry. Like he looked great last year. I thought Derrick Henry looked good whenever he got the ball. So I'm worried. A little worried about him getting an expanded role this year. You know,
like I remember
it could happen.
I remember DeMarco Murray was out one game. Was it one game or 2 games last year? And then Derrick Henry just exploded for like no fucking reason at all. And then you looked at it like, fuck, dude. And it was too late at that point because you pick him up and he didn't do shit the next week. Yeah. But you know that's the way it happens. That's the way it goes. You can't really predict that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm wondering. I do think that Corey Davis and Decker do kind of help the running back situation, though.
Alleviate some pressure on it.
So
I agree.
I mean, Mariota is looking like he's going to be a pretty legit quarterback too, and he was doing pretty good until he ended up getting injured and breaking his leg. So
and he has he did extremely well with the tight end. God damn it! Why can't I think of his name now?
Man, now I just forgot his name too.
The most forgettable man, and then Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking Niners the entire time, and I'm like, who the fuck was on the Niners? And Kiko loved him. He absolutely loved him. Yeah, but Delaney Walker, yeah, he emerged under the guidance of Mariota.
Yeah.
But he provided a lot of help to be able to be that check down tight end.
And number 9, I struggled to put this guy here. I still don't know if I want him there or not. It's, Melvin Gordon. I've seen a lot of things so far where he's higher on a lot of like draft boards.
It's because
for
me.
He had all those touchdowns last year.
Yeah,
but sometimes touchdowns are the hardest thing to predict because they can go up or they can go down.
Yeah, you never know whether
from game to game depending on opponent and everything. But he started up hot with all those touchdowns, and I think that kind of carried him
the entire week, the entire month of September.
He finished just shy of 1,000 yards, but I think he missed like the last 3 games, so I'd say that was more due to injury rather than production. He had a good amount of catches last year. With Woodhead, now gone, he could get more. But remember, Woodhead also missed most of the year, anyways.
The entire season.
Was it the whole year?
Yeah, first week for second week. I'm sorry.
So be careful about reading too much into that. Some people might say, "Oh, Woodhead's gone, so he's getting more catches." Like, remember, he wasn't there last year for the majority of the year, so the catches may go up a little bit. They may stay about the same. What I don't like is that he averaged under 4 yards per carry this year and the previous year. So, if the yardage stays the same but the touchdowns fall, then you're screwed because you're relying on him to produce those touchdowns if you put him up higher because the yardage could stay roughly the same. Yeah. So be ready for that.
Yeah, it's a shaky number 9. I don't have him at number 9. My number 9 is C.J. Spiller.
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, it was Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon. Only based on default, dude. Because I really don't like number 9 and number 10.
I wouldn't like Melvin Gordon as my number 1 running back though.
I don't even have Todd Gurley in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't either. Number 10, I put Fournette.
You put Fournette.
Totally just projecting. Obviously, you can't go off of anything based off of what you've seen in college, what you're hoping that he can do in the pros. Mm-hmm. It seems that 2 years in a row, a rookie running back has killed it.
That's very true.
Zeke killed it this past year. Mm-hmm. So did Jordan Howard too. He did really great. Mm-hmm. Fournette could be that next rookie running back to come in and do really well.
That next dude.
The offense has great receivers. You just need Bortles to get his stuff together.
Yeah, he needs to get his shit in order.
So if he can cut down on the turnovers, there's no reason Fournette can't dominate. Who'd you have at 10?
It was Fournette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the one thing I like about Fournette's situation is that they beefed up their offensive line.
Yeah,
Cam Robinson.
they did. They signed some players on defense too, so that should help out.
I still don't like the fact that Cam Robinson did not go in the first round. For a lot of teams, it's probably preference, probably what they wanted, probably what they like, how Cam would have or would not have fit onto their team. I get that, but to pass up on a guy like that, I don't know. To me, I would have taken him. I would have, especially with the Niners lacking their offensive line, but the Niners had needs everywhere, so. I mean, it wasn't like a loss for anybody.
Yeah.
But the Jags, they lucked out by picking up Cam Robinson. I think they traded up for him too.
Yeah, they did pretty good in the draft. I think they'll be all right.
So that gives a little bit better projection for Leonard Fournette to at least crack into the top 10, because there's absolutely nobody else in the top 10 that I can think of that just strikes me a great way.
Yeah. I mean, why not take the gamble? Just on the bubble, for me, like, you got Gurley.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, he was killing it. Last year, he didn't. Lynch, I could still put him in my top 10 and drop Gordon.
Yeah, you could rotate.
Just because Latavius Murray had a lot of touch. I think he had 10 touchdowns last year with the Raiders. I think Lynch can easily take over that role, but actually do better at it.
Yeah.
So Lynch might actually move into my top 10 as the season
progresses.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why we said number 10 is always interchangeable, just depending on who you like. It can go either way. It can go either way, no matter who you are. But it looks like we have a couple of seconds left, and with